welcome to my channel Modern Modis. Today I'm going to show you how I made this flare sleeve mesh dress. So let's get started. So here's how I altered the pattern from my how to make patterns tracing your clothes video. This is the dress pattern alterations, and this is the lining pattern alterations. I cut a front, two backs, two sets of sleeves and the fabric for the flare, two back skirts and the front skirt, the front lining and the back lining. I started by adding darts to the front. Fold the outer edge to the center and pin to hold in place. Then I marked 1/2 inch across the bottom for a 1 inch dart and 7 inches up from bottom to top, and I marked a line from the 1/2 inch mark to the top edge up 7 inches. Repeat on the other side and sew. I start by back stitching and then sewing a straight stitch down the line and then back stitching again at the end. This is how it looks once I've sewn both darts. Then I went on to hem the inner edge of the backs. I fold over the edge twice and sew. After that, I added darts to the backs by folding in half and marked the 1/2 inch from the fold and 7 inches up from the top again, just like I did the fronts. Once the darts are finished, I pinned the backs and front at the shoulders. Then sewed with a straight stitch and followed with a zigzag stitch. For the sleeve, I gathered this fabric by stitching a long straight stitch across the top edge, back stitching one end but not the other, leaving a long enough thread to pull together. Then I pull the top or bottom thread with one hand and the fabric with the other together. Gather to the length of the bottom of the sleeve and make sure the gather is evenly distributed. Lay the gathered fabric on the sleeve, right sides facing, lining up the edges, pin and sew. Then open the sleeve like this and top stitch. This is how the sleeve looks finished. With the top open like this, fold your sleeve in half and align the fold with the shoulder seam, right sides facing. Pin a sleeve around the rest of the armhole like this, and sew. This is how my sleeves look sewn on. So I decided to add elastic to my sleeve for a more dramatic flare. I cut elastic to fit my wrist plus 1/2 inch seam allowance. I pinned the ends of the elastic to the ends of my seam where my flare and sleeve meet. I used a zigzag stitch to sew on the elastic while stretching it like this. Then I closed the sides of the top, pinning at the armpits first and then down the sides and sleeves. I sewed from armpit down the body and then from armpit down the sleeve and followed with a zigzag stitch. I decided to use bias tape I got from Joann's a long time ago to finish the neckline. Since I'm in quarantine and Joann's is not open right now, this is what I'm using to finish my neckline. I pinned the bias tape to the neckline, right sides facing, leaving 1/2 inch extra on the ends. I sewed with a straight stitch. Then cut off any excess bias tape over the 1/2 inch hem allowance I left on the ends. Then I folded over and pinned the bias tape to the inside of the neckline and sewed. For the skirt, I hemmed the inner edge of the bottom back skirt pieces with a single fold and pinned them to the bottom front skirt right sides facing. I sewed down the edge with a straight stitch and zigzag stitch. After that, I sewed 2 long straight stitches across the top edge to gather the skirt back stitch from one end but not the other, again leaving a long enough thread to pull together. I gathered the skirt by pulling the 2 top threads with one hand and the fabric with the other, gathering to the length of the bottom of my top and making sure my gather is evenly distributed. Then I lined up the edge of the top of my dress with the edge of the skirt right sides facing and pinned starting at the ends and the side seams. Then I pinned the rest of the edge together and sewed. I opened the dress like this and top stitched. Now for the zipper, I started by turning the dress inside out. I measured the zipper, then pinned the back together so I could measure and mark the length of my zipper onto my dress. For these quarantine projects, I'm using what I have around the house, that's why I had to measure my zipper. I also pinned to mark where the zipper would end and sewed from there to the bottom of my dress. So earlier I single hemmed the inner edges of the back of my skirt. Well, now I'm folding those over again, so it's going to be a double hem now, and I'm sewing that down from the top to the bottom. With the dress right side out, I opened the zipper and pinned to the edge of my dress. and then sewed using the zipper foot. At the bottom with the needle and the fabric, I lift the presser foot to turn the fabric, put it down to sew across the bottom, then I lifted the presser foot again and turned the fabric again to go up the other side of the zipper, and then put down the presser foot and sewed down that edge. This is the result. To finish the dress, I hemmed the sleeves and the bottom of the dress. I started with the sleeves by folding over the edge and sewing, and then folding again. And then double folded the bottom of the dress and sewed with a straight stitch. If you're following this tutorial, don't forget to seam rip out the thread we used to gather the skirt. Now for the lining, I pinned the shoulders together right sides facing and sewed with a straight stitch, then a zigzag stitch. And then down the sides with a zigzag stitch to keep the stretchiness of the dress, since it'll be a body-fitting lining dress. You can see here I'm sewing far from the edge, but it's because I already knew that I cut this a little too wide so it would fit too loose on me, so I'm sewing really far in from the edge. I then hemmed the bottom with a double fold. To hem the neck and armholes, I snipped 1/4 inch into the center, front and back, and sides. I then folded over the edge and sewed with a zigzag stitch. Try not to stretch the fabric as you sew because this will result in a wavy neckline and armhole. The snips help the neckline to lay flush at the curves. You can see here that I stretched my fabric in some places while I was sewing this, which resulted in, like I said, waves. But this is the lining, it's going under, so I'm still going to wear it under the dress. This is how it looks when that's done.
And that's the end of this tutorial. I hope it was easy to follow. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe because more videos are coming soon. Comment below if there's anything you'd like to see me make. Thank you for watching. Bye.